Come on, Livingston, we're gonna go on and on and on. Together we can make it. We're gonna go on and on and on. Come on, Livingston.
Knocks it through. Mullen bursting into the box. Josh Mullen.
Together we can make it.
Mullen's ball across. It's turned in. It's Pittman who's got it. Livingston leads.
Road is long.
Now can they get the ball back in? O'Brien.
Lead! And Livingston have the lead.
Man, score.
If we march together.
The full-time whistle blows and David Hayes celebrates. And the Livingston fans join in exultation.
Come on, Livingston.
Livingston have the lead against Rangers, and they are certainly rising to a few occasions on their return to the top flight in Scotland.
Come on, Livingston. We're gonna go.
Hello and welcome back to Talk Livy, the podcast dedicated to everything Livingston Football Club and Scottish football. My name's Andy, and today I'm joined by Angus and Ewan as we try to move on from the heartbreak of Sunday. Callum's still struggling with this and is in hiding, unfortunately, but rest assured he'll be back. Anyway, you can listen to this episode and all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming sites. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube, plus loads more. All you need to do is search for Talk Livy. Follow us and subscribe if you can so you won't miss another episode. Sadly though, we do have to look back at Sunday's cup final. It wasn't to be for Livy. We look at what went wrong and how it was disappointment and not celebration for the Lions. We have to put Sunday's disappointment behind us quick, as on Wednesday we face a rampant Rangers side on the cusp of league glory. We look ahead to that one. And finally, it's a trip to Fir Park as we face Motherwell at the weekend. We look at our opponents as we look to secure a top 6 spot.
I think this next segment's going to be a bit of a group therapy session, but it was Hampden heartbreak for the Lions on Sunday as we fell short in the Betfred Cup Final. Sean Rooney header was enough to seal cup glory for St Johnstone and send the Lions home deflated. It's pretty safe to say that was a hard one to take, guys, wasn't it?
Yeah, incredibly so. Losing any game was hard to take, never mind the cup final. What makes it even worse is probably the manner that we lost in as well, I would say. We weren't good at all. It was a completely unenjoyable experience from that goal onwards. To talk about the game itself, I don't think an awful lot was separating the two teams early on. Possession was up for grabs. Both teams were kind of just trying to find their feet into the game. If anything, we had the better chances in the first kind of like opening half an hour, with Josh Mullen forcing Zander Clark to make a great save. Sean Rooney, though, does what Sean Rooney does and scores a header from a corner. We could probably moan about a couple of things, maybe most particularly the fact that nobody was on the post for the corner. But ever since then, we never really got into the game again, which is wholly disappointing. I think that will be the thing that's most frustrating for us fans. It's always going to be tough to take losing a game in that kind of manner, never mind when you've done it when you've been quite toothless. Lost the cup final by 1 goal to a set piece. Who knows what would have happened if we'd even applied ourselves just that one wee extra bit more. I don't think St Johnstone were tremendous. I just think that they were tactically well set up. Something I'd probably say we weren't. We'll go on to talk about the lineup. I don't think much of an issue with the goalkeeping situation. I think either way, we all kind of talked about this. We both rate our keepers and we feel that either one of them would have stepped up and done the job. Bobby McCrory had a good game. I think if anybody believes that McCrory's at fault for the goal, it's a load of nonsense. And I believe that there's other agendas to why you would come to that situation. As it's a great cross, it's a great header, and we've not got anything in the post. There's nothing McCrory can do at it, especially when he's positioned so normally. But
I think actually Robbie's done pretty well to even get a hand on it. I think if he pulls that off, it's a world-class save, because I think the balls came basically blind at him round two players, round Guthrie and Ambrose. And then, as you say, I think Lawson's come off the post. So I think, if anything, he's done pretty well to even get a hand on it.
Yeah, you're spot on. He manages to tip it even to clip onto the post. He's at absolute full strength. So the fact that people are kind of looking to blame him, it's absolutely scapegoating. But the main kind of tactical change that we'll probably talk quite in depth of is Marvin Bartley at left wing. I can see what the kind of intention was. Obviously, Sean Rooney's a threat, big, powerful runner down the right-hand side. But is Marvin Bartley the correct person to put in that area? If you ask me, no, I wouldn't have thought so, to be honest. Rooney is a good player. We know what kind of threats he brings to the St Johnstone side, but it's mainly from aerial duels and from set pieces, which obviously we felt the bad side of in the game on Sunday. But I just feel it's extremely disappointing that we've set up to deal, not to play our own game. We've worried too much about a player who, in all honesty, we're not coming up against somebody like Trent Alexander-Arnold, are we? We're not coming up against even James Tavernier. It's Sean Rooney. It's not somebody we should be going into a cup final and altering our style of play that has done us so well so much in the past. And it was an experiment that, I guess, if it comes off, everybody's like, oh, Martindale's a genius. But when it doesn't come off, and in all honesty, I think we're looking a bit foolish on this.
Yeah, I think, Angus, what you said, the tactical decision, I get it to an extent, but as you say, putting Marv out there, it's made the entire team disjointed. I think you've lost an outball on one side of the park completely, because let's be honest, we're not going to go and see Marv gallivanting down the left wing, throwing crosses into the box. That's not what Marv's about. You know, you want Marv in the middle of the park, roaming about, breaking up the play. And I think it had a knock-on effect across the whole team because, as I say, we lost an outball down that side. I think you were then asking Holt to almost do Marv's job of roaming about to break up play, plus try and keep the game ticking over all the time. So I think Holt was almost caught in two minds as to what his job was as a result of that. And then we kind of touched on it. We've started with a 4 every time we've played St Johnstone and moved to a 3, and we've caused them problems every time we've kind of matched them up across the park. I'm a bit surprised that they've not looked at the games previous and gone, you know what, that's what's caused them problems. When we've matched them up, gone man for man across the park, and we've caused them problems. We've shown that we have better personnel, and we've caused them a lot of problems. As you say, first 20 minutes or so, I think we probably just edged it. Josh pulled off a good save out of Xander Clark, but the goal, again, as you touched on, I just think it's really negative that we've tried to combat a right wing back the way we did. And as you say, most of these goals have come from set plays. It's not been from open play. I know Davey touched on it being the diagonal that McCart plays out to that side, but is it worth altering your entire personnel over? I don't think so, personally. And I think as much as we praised Davey when we were on a fantastic unbeaten run for some of the tactical tweaks he made in games, which arguably won us a lot of points, I think his tactical decisions yesterday were so focused on stopping St Johnstone rather than seeing what we could do to affect the game. And I think we're fighting a losing battle from the start. I don't question the players' effort whatsoever. I think they did leave everything out there, and as much as Marv was kind of out of position, I think he really stuck to his task quite well. I think Robbie kept us in the game early doors in the second half. You're hoping for a bit of a reaction out of us in the second half, but I think the goal settled St Johnstone into the game. And I think they took the game by the scruff of the neck kind of first 20-25 minutes of the second half, and really should have been 2 or 3 up, to be honest. But none of the changes really worked. It was a really disjointed kind of middle to front with the changes that we made, and it was just one of those days that I don't think it was ever going to happen for us. And I think we were beaten. I know it was only 1-0, but personally, I think we were beaten comfortably by a better team on the day. But just a wee side note, I think a wee kind of shout out to folk behind the scenes at the club, the likes of Derek, Blair, Dave. and everyone else who have had a pretty tough task of trying to promote a cup final in the current climate. I think they've done a fantastic job, as of other kind of fan media outlets and things like that as well. So a big shout out to them. I think the club have, as I say, they've tried to promote what is a massive occasion and try and get fans involved. And I think, we can't detract from the fact that, I know folk hate it when we say it, but 5 years ago we were getting relegated against Stranraer in a playoff, and we're now disappointed that we've just lost in a major cup final. I think it does show the progression that the club's made. And to be honest, 17 years ago we got to Hampden last for a major cup final. Andy, I'm pretty sure over those 17 years you would agree with me that you probably never thought we would be back in that position again. So I think it's a wee bit of a reality check. It's obviously a massive disappointment, but I think the fact that we've got a game Wednesday night is a big bonus, because it'll give the players something new to focus on.
Yeah, no, you guys really have said it all. I think, we were sitting last night humming and hawing whether to do a podcast last night, but obviously emotions were running extremely high, but we're all bitterly disappointed. And I think the worst thing for me is there's ways to lose a cup final, and I don't think that was it. We sat here and we listened to, Burton O'Brien, Scott McLaughlin say that, you don't want to, as a player, you don't want to feel like you've came away and not left everything out in the park. And I think the hardest thing for me to take is I felt St Johnstone wanted it more. Whether that was to do with the way we set up, I don't know, but it just, everything that we've been good at this season, everything that we were excellent at during the 14-game unbeaten run or whatever it was, winning second balls, right in the faces of opposition, I just felt we didn't do it. I can't think of a second ball we won all afternoon. St Johnstone were all over us. I think we when you spoke about it last night, Ewan, I think we played the occasion more than the game itself. I felt we were bullied all over the park, and as you said, Angus, I felt we changed our game to suit our opponents. When I think that, I look at the St Johnstone team and I look at our team, and would I make any swaps to our squad compared to theirs? I don't think so. I just think it's a huge opportunity missed, and I feel for the players, and I'm gutted myself, and obviously all the fans are devastated. But that's football, isn't it? We go through highs and lows. The biggest highs will come in sport and football, and then the biggest lows will just hit you, and they have. And it's really, really a gutter. You have said it all in terms of the tactical side of things. There's nothing really more I can add, but I do agree. I think we changed our style of play to suit them. And obviously the biggest disappointment for me, like I say, is I felt St Johnstone wanted it more, and that's not like Livingston at all.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing that is the most painful aspect of it is that you can clearly see that one team wanted it really. The fact that St Johnstone were doing all the dirty work, the fact that simply from when they scored till the end of the game, we didn't have a single chance. That is what makes it again, and this will probably be hurting the players probably more so than anybody, is the fact that they know that they were capable of much better, and to not have really laid a glove on the opponents when we're chasing the game as well. I think going back to the kind of tactical thing, you would have respected it a wee bit more if, for example, Davey had went the kind of opposite way. Oh, Sean Rooney likes to bomb forward. How about we stick somebody out on that left wing who we're going to kind of leave there to make him think, oh, I'm going to have to come back. I can't go too forward because Alan Forrest or Jace Kabaya or that is going to be there to punish me if I'm out of position. We would have, as fans, would have appreciated that a wee bit more, because we probably would have had a wee bit more of a go. But just coming away from this game, it just feels like it's just a massive missed opportunity, because we've done nothing. And that is what's always going to sting when you look at this cup final. Maybe that's what's, when the kind of final whistle went, I didn't really feel an awful lot of sadness, in all honesty. It was more frustration, just at the fact that we know what this team's capable of. We all know what we're good at, and it just didn't reflect at all.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on the Davy thing, and I think you said it, Ewan, as well, that, you know, we've sat here and we've praised Davy for almost, you know, I think we've used the words tactical genius for a few of the games, you know, making changes during games to help us go on and cement our winning position and go on and win league games. But I think he did get it wholly wrong in the game. I think, you know, tactically we were very poor. We played the cup final rather than the team itself, and we made too many changes that really affected us. I felt sorry for Holt, who basically was put in a position where he had to play the Bartley role and the Holt role at the same time, because Bartley wasn't there to do his role for him. I mean, it's one of these ones you almost think, is that little bit of inexperience for your manager cost us a little bit? You know, has he overthought things too much, trying to be clever? You know, he's always talking about looking at the opposition, but maybe this was an occasion where you put your best 11 out and you go and take the game to them and you go and win the cup. Because, I mean, it was there for the taking and we've just not turned up.
I think it was quite obvious at times that the pressure was getting to our players, and I think in the early stages you could see that with St Johnstone as well, because nobody was really wanting to get their foot on the ball and take a little risk on the ball. It was all very much kind of back to front, back and forward, down the touchlines, you know, just playing the safe pass all the time, the safe ball. And I think, as I say, St Johnstone getting the goal, I think, just settled them into the game. And I think you could see that in the early stages of the second half. We know St Johnstone under Callum Davidson liked to play a little bit with the ball on the ground, and I think you could see that come out second half. I think the goal just gave them that little bit of confidence. And whilst with us, I think we just looked scared of making a mistake. But that can happen in these sort of games. It's, you know, going back to Gary Holt's last few games, I think we fell into that little rut as well, and everyone was doing the safe thing on the ball. And I think in these sort of games, you do feel that pressure. You don't want to be the person that potentially makes a mistake that costs you in a massive game like that. But it's absolutely heartbreaking, because I think this group of players and the staff and everyone at the club deserved that silverware. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, St Johnstone thoroughly deserved it on the day, and congratulations to them. I've got a few pals that are St Johnstone fans, and I know it will mean as much to them as it would have to us. So, and I don't begrudge a team like St Johnstone winning a major cup. It's obviously absolutely devastating that it's at our expense.
I think, you know, going back to the goal, quick question for you guys. We discussed it a little bit last night as well. Rooney was obviously the scorer. Should he have been on the park? What did you make of the incident with Bartley?
For me, I think it's clutching at straws to an extent, in all honesty. I don't think it's clear cut that you could say it's a straight red card or anything like that. Like, I think we're kidding ourselves on, in all honesty, if we're going to be looking at that and micro-analysing it and trying to point that as a deciding factor of the game. Perhaps it could be if there was like a VAR or whatever, but for me, I don't think there's nearly enough. I believe that he's probably tried his hardest to probably not get out of the way and maybe leave something, possibly, but I don't think there's that much intent, that much velocity to kind of merit it being like a straight red card. And especially in the heat of the moment, in the kind of the way the game's going, the referee's never going to see that. The referee's never going to give that. So as much as it like stings in that, I think if we're looking at those kind of things to kind of not necessarily put like the kind of blame on, but kind of deflect from like the real kind of issues that cost us, I think it's kind of a nothing issue, in all honesty.
I thought it was a bit naughty, personally. I think if you look at Rooney, you know, we've seen him when he played in the lower divisions against us and stuff like that. He's a bit of an antagonist. He's a bit like Marv in a way. Marv likes to try and wind people up on the park as well. And I don't think he needs to put his foot down with the force he does. Personally, I think he is trying to leave a wee mark on Marv. And if there was VAR, I think let's just say he would have given the referee a decision to make.
Yeah, I get that, but I think I'm probably more on the side of Angus here in terms of I feel like it's something that would be very difficult to prove. I think even if we did have VAR, they've got to prove, without any doubt that the player is meant to put his foot on the top of Bartley's head, and I think it's very difficult to prove that he's meant to do it. I don't think there's an unnatural movement towards his head. I think he's put. I'm with Angus. Did he make an effort to get out the way Marvin's head? Probably not. But, I don't think that there's anything there in terms of a major incident that would involve a red card personally. I think the other thing I want to pick on is because a lot of people have is the fact that, we go back to the goal, there was nobody on the post. Now, I've watched this goal a million times now because I like to torture myself. And
you love misery. You actually do. You absolutely adore misery. No, I've watched the goal back once after the game, and that's all I could manage. I couldn't watch it again.
It's been difficult, but I've watched it again, and I think people were making a big deal about Lawson coming off the post, and I think if people watch it again, he wasn't actually on the post. He was marking, I think it was Liam Gordon for St Johnstone, and Liam Gordon's made a run away from the goals. Lawson's followed him, which has left the goal post empty. So it's quite clever play from the St Johnstone player. I think what I would pick up on as well, we spoke about McCrory earlier, getting a few sort of the blame here and there. And I saw another comment saying, why did McCrory not organise someone on the post? Well, I think, again, that's a job for the manager to decide before the game whether we put players on the post or not for the goalkeeper to decide during the game. But, looking back, St Johnstone, their biggest threat is from set pieces. We all knew that. We all knew Rooney is a big threat from set pieces. Why did we not have anybody on the post?
Yeah, you're absolutely spot on that it's not McCrory's decision to decide how we're going to be marking up. It does seem to be a new kind of thing that's came into the recent kind of years of football where teams are not putting players on the post because they feel that if if there isn't a chance directly from the header that comes, like the cross that comes direct into the box, you're then leaving basically a whole chance for players to be coming on to be onside essentially by having players on posts. But as you mentioned there, we all know St Johnstone's great threat from set pieces. I mean, they scored 2 in the semi-final. They scored 2 set pieces against us. I know one was a direct free kick, but we know exactly what they're good at. We should have been set up to have people on the post to clear the goal, in all honesty, because we know that they were going to threaten from there. We knew where the ball was going to go. If we had somebody on the post, it's still 0-0. Even if that does mean that we have every player in the box, sure, fine, so be it. It's a cup final. Let's protect our goal as much as we can, especially from what we know St Johnstone are so great at. I think it's something like Livingston. Somebody tweeted out like a stat or something. It's like St Johnstone are probably like one of the only teams who win more aerial duels than Livy. So, yeah, I guess like maybe the thinking was we're going to line up man to man and we're going to deal with it that way, but in football, it doesn't always work out like that, and I think we probably should have been a wee bit more smarter to that and lined up to deal with anything worst case scenario, I guess, in that instance. I mean, we lined up in open play worst case scenario. Why did we not do it at set pieces?
I think we all talked about how this game could be decided on a set piece for weeks leading into it. Going back to the last league game against St Johnstone, we spoke about that. I think, yes, we did concede a goal from a set piece. I think there's a bit of a misconception that Livy are excellent at defending set pieces, because I think we have one of the worst records in the league for conceding from set plays this season. So I think it's quite a common misconception that we're really good at defending them. I think it's quite clear it's been a bit of an Achilles heel all season. But for me, I think it was more the tactics and for open play that cost us dearly. I don't think you could put someone on the post, but other than that, I don't think there's a great deal you can do. with the set play. I think Rooney's just been slightly stronger than Guthrie in terms of winning the ball, and it's a fantastic header, to be fair. But I think it's more the tactics and open play that have cost us the game.
Trying to somehow put some form of positivity on the cup final, was there any players that stood out for you? I can think of one that came on that I think will probably go away feeling quite happy with his performance. What do you guys think? I'm thinking Sibbald was about the only one that I felt.
I think Sibs, I mentioned how players looked like they were scared to make a mistake and kind of take the game by the scruff of the neck. I think Sibbald was the first of our players that was willing to try and take a few touches in the ball and try and make something happen. I think Nicky got past marks. I think Nicky grafted his balls off as he always does. And I think Robbie, for all the slack he takes, I think Robbie kept us in the cup tie, to be honest, with especially the save he made early in the second half from point blank range. I think it's a fantastic save that he's made. But yeah, it was. I think Robbo was given a bit of a thankless task. I don't think we supported Robbo enough.
I think you'd probably say that Robinson probably can hold his head up high as well. Just the fact that in that kind of first half an hour, he was putting himself about those three centre halves. He was being a nuisance. Just the way the game went, he just had absolutely no support. I don't think you can really blame him in any way for that, because, I mean, he is the focal point. He can't really do anything if we're not getting out of our own half, can he? So, yeah, Nicky Devlin for me as well. Out of the outfield players, was the one who continued to be bright, made a couple of good interceptions and was going down that right wing like he usually does. I think Alan Forrest, when he came on that left wing, he got down the line a couple of times. He put in a good cross that we ended up getting a corner from. He also got, was it Liam Gordon, booked late on just by going a simple run, knocking the ball ahead. Something that we'd missed on that left-hand side throughout the whole game, obviously, because Bartley was playing there for up to 70 minutes. But, yeah, I know we're trying to be a wee bit positive, but it's just extremely hard to in this kind of circumstance.
I think we're going to need to set up a helpline for Livy fans after that, to be honest. Andy, you'll probably take charge of that because you love misery. So,
no, I just want to. You made a bit of a statement earlier, Ewan, about the club, but I mean, I'm gutted. There's no getting away from it, and I think every Livingston fan will be devastated. I'm as disappointed as anybody, but I'm glad I've given myself some kind of time to reflect, and I hope every Livingston fans sort of had that time to reflect. And you know, the disappointment will no leave me, it'll be with me for a long time, but I just hope we don't let this one result dictate how we look back at our season. Don't get me wrong, it's been up and down. You know, we started relatively poor. Holt's left, Martindale's came in. We've been on an incredible run. You know, we've had a club record run in the Premier League, the Premiership, for the first time in our history. You know, we've got to another National Cup final. We're basically on the cusp of a top six finish again for the second season in a row. You know, we've got a lot to be proud of. And I think, you know, I just want to say as well that, you know, I want to throw out a few thanks to people who, you know, it clearly came across in our tweet last night that we were all a bit low and a bit despondent. And I think a lot of people reached out to us and, you know, wished us well and you know, thanked us for the build-up that we'd done for the cup final, which was a great experience. But like I say, I just hope we don't let this result dictate how our season's gone, because it's been terrific. You know, and I hope that we kick on for the rest of the season. We secure top six, and you know what, 5th place is looking pretty good for Europe. If we can finish in 5th place, then what a season it's been again.
The team will have to move on quickly from Sunday's disappointment as we welcome Gerrard and his Rangers side to the Tony Macaroni Arena on Wednesday. Things are getting a little tighter in the race for the top six, with St Mirren just a point behind and Dundee United only 3 behind. Rangers will be looking to maintain their unbeaten league campaign, But in a roundabout way, this is perhaps the perfect game for us following Sunday's disappointment. Would you agree, guys?
I think it is a good game. It's live on Sky. It's against the league leaders at home. I think it's the best thing for the players that they've got a game coming really quick after that disappointment. That it gives them something to focus on again, and a wee bit of an incentive. I think probably another win would definitely stamp us into the top 6. I know that would be a very difficult task to get that against Rangers, but we've got 4 games before the split that we can use to secure that. So I think typically, over the last few years with Livy, we tend to bounce back after disappointments quite well. And as you kind of touched on at the end of that last segment, I hope that we don't have a hangover from that cup defeat. I think everyone about the club's going to be trying to pick the players up and get them motivated for this game. But I think, as you say, it's a good game because one, we're probably not expected to get anything from it with the way Rangers have been this season. They have been, as much as it pains me to say it, have been dominant this season. So everyone's will be writing us off. And I think Nicky Devlin mentioned that they thrive on it when folk write them off, and hopefully we can take it as a bit of an incentive going into the game against the Zombies.
Here we are, Ewan going all in on Rangers as usual every time they come around.
Absolutely, I live for it.
No, listen, I agree. I think what you said, Angus, is spot on. I think it is a perfect game for us. No pressure. I think it'll really show the metal and the steel that the players and the squad have, and their ability to bounce back. Rangers at home, it's not an easy game, let's be honest. Rangers have been incredible this season. It's unbeaten so far, 4 draws. That's all they've, 8 points they've dropped all season, which is quite remarkable. Someone should have really predicted that at the start of the season. But
it's about the only thing you've predicted right all season.
But I've looked at Rangers recently. I almost feel like they know the job's done in a way, and they've slightly taken their eye off the league. That's not to say that the results have slowed. The results have still been very good, but I don't think they've been quite as good as what they were at the beginning of the season. I remember watching us against them, the game that we drew 0-0, and I thought they were absolutely fantastic, to be honest. I know we drew 0-0, but the pace in which they played the ball around, they really turned us really well, caused us a lot of problems, and they probably should have beat us that day, but thankfully they never. But having watched a few of their games recently again on Sky and things, I don't think they've been quite at it. I think their head's probably slightly turned by Europe, which again they're doing incredible in, which is great for Scottish football. But there is opportunities here for us if we can perform. They notoriously hate the plastic pitch. They hate it. They don't stop going on about it. So there is opportunities for us. And if we can perform and get our heads up and go into this game looking to get something, I don't see why we can't.
I'm really not looking forward to this game on Wednesday, in all honesty. I don't know if it's just the aftermath of this as well, but I really, really don't see this going well at all. Talk about Rangers maybe taking their eye off the ball a wee bit. I believe the last 3 games they've scored at least 4 each time. I am not confident that we're going to be the team who's going to kind of stop that run. If we play anything like we did against St Johnstone, it's going to be an absolute disaster. It's very important that we do come out all firing, because in all honesty, we're owed a performance for that on Sunday. I don't think that would be harsh to say. And hopefully the players will have that kind of fire under them to get them going. But yeah, everything that I'm kind of looking at here just points towards a bad Wednesday night evening. Don't want to be too depressing or that, but
it's good to see Andy's rubbing off on everyone on the podcast, isn't it? Fuck me.
I would love to sit here and be like, you know what, we're going to do this and that, but I just don't see it happening at all. But I'll move on to talk about something slightly different. Obviously, going towards like a kind of team selection, we know that Max will obviously have to play because of Robbie McCrory's. He can't play against his parent club. Obviously, things haven't really been the best for us the last couple of weeks. What changes would you like to see, if any, to this starting 11? Who would you like to see kind of given a chance, or would you like to see a kind of new style of system put in? Maybe that back five that you're kind of talking about. Do we need something to kind of freshen things up? Have we got a wee bit stale in terms that we are approaching some of these games, or is this the game that we're probably shouldn't be looking to do anything like that because our backs are going to be up against the wall for the most part?
I think just quickly to pick up on the Rangers scoring 4 goals in the last 3. 2 of them were in Europe. I did mention that they've taken their eye off the league to play in Europe, and I watched a bit of their game against Dundee United, and Dundee United could have been 2 or 3 up before Rangers actually scored. So I think there is opportunities, and you're right, and I seem to be rubbing off on Angus a little bit. He's been notoriously positive since he joined us on Talk Livy. But here I am being the positive one. On changes, we always seem to have a game plan against Rangers and Celtic, and we always do it very well. We always almost play 3 at the back. We wing backs who are pushed back, and our sort of holding midfielders are almost double up at the wing back positions as well. So we're almost playing 7 at the back in these games a lot of the time, and it frustrates teams. And I'm not saying it's a great style, but if it's going to pick us up a point or 3 points, then who cares? I always laugh at the likes of Rangers and Celtic fans coming on whenever a club like ourselves or Hamilton or whoever pick up a point against these teams, and they always moan that negative football, this and that, etc., etc. At the end of the day, Rangers are a massive football club with so much the ability to change things. Their squad's massive compared to ourselves, so if we do anything to get a result, so I can see us having a similar game plan again. I can see us going with 3 or 5 at the back, with sitting players really sitting in deep, trying to frustrate them, because at the end of the day, Rangers have better players than us, so we have to do something slightly different to the norm, and I think that's what we'll do again.
I can see us going to a system we've used a few times, which is the kind of 3-4-2-1. We used it against Celtic. I think it gives us that. I think where you can get at Rangers is in the wide areas and the full-back areas, because they do like to bomb on and almost play as wingers. I think that is the area that you can get in behind Rangers and cause them a few problems. So, playing the likes of Devlin, Serrano, wide of that 4 in the middle, I think gives you the option to maybe get in behind in those pockets. But that would be the way I would see us setting up personally. As you say, the game earlier in the season at the Spaghetti had me 4-2-3-1, but Forrest and Pittman played wide that day, were basically full-backs. Then Marv was dropping in between the centre-halves, almost making it a flat 7 at times across. But I think because the game's at home, we might have a bit more of a go. I think as well, that game, we just lost Lyndon Dykes that day, and Jack Hamilton had to come in for his first start in the Premiership in over a year. So I think there was circumstances which almost dictated the way we played a little bit that day, and we weren't in the best run of form at the time as well. So I think I could see us maybe tweaking to that shape personally, and see what we can do, what damage we can cause Rangers going forward.
Last time that we kind of set up that formation with a kind of 3 with a kind of 4-2, we had Jet playing right as the right winger. Is that something that we could possibly look to bring back? Just looking at I can tell this isn't going down well already.
I'll just come in there. No.
Point out, last time we played Jet there, he scored against Celtic.
Exactly.
Just say.
So I say, there you go. But I think another thing that could maybe lighten things up is what player are we going to put Marvin Bartley on to try and culminate? Are we going to put him right wing this time for Barisic?
Oh, please, can we stop? I feel like I'm watching Premier Sports again. Like hearing us talk about Marvin Bartley left mid. Can we make it like an unwritten rule in the podcast that we never mention Marvin Bartley at left mid again?
I think we'll need to discuss that with David Martindale, tactical genius. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if Jack Fitzwater comes back in for this. It wouldn't surprise me if Jackson Longridge plays, and we play Longridge and Serrano both on the left side. We seem to have favoured that sort of style in a few games this season. I think if someone on the right, I think it has to be Mullen. Personally, I think if you take Mullen out of the equation, you're losing that dead ball. And albeit it's not been great recently, but he has got that wand there, a right foot that he can fire balls into the box. And you know, I think if we're going to score against Rangers, it's going to come from a set piece. And I think if you take him out, you're losing that almost. So I can see him playing, and I think if Robbo's fit, he'll play as well, to be honest.
You could fit Mullen in that kind of 10 role. He's played in that position before a couple of times, and it keeps him. And what you do when we lose the ball is basically Josh and Pitts would be covering in the wide areas and doubling up on that side. That's pretty much what you do when you play that setup when you've lost possession. It's a similar setup to what Steve Clarke uses with Scotland, and you know, we are typically very well drilled, so I can see the players, they have played that system throughout the season at times, and I could see us doing that, as you say, to get Josh in more or less for that dead ball delivery, because we're probably not going to get a load of chances against Rangers, but you know, set pieces is an opportunity for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think as well, I think Sibbald will come into the game. I think that 30-minute cameo in the cup final, I think, has probably secured them a spot in this game. Who drops out? Again, it's a difficult one. I think, given going by sort of the last couple of performances, Holt might be the one that drops out, or you know, Sibbald might play on that left side. It might, you know, Serrano dropping back and Sibbald might go in there, but you know, there's a lot to look at in terms of a team. It'll be interesting to see how we set up. But I really hope we go into this game and we give everything, you know. And like you said, Angus, I think the players know that they owe us a performance. I think they know that they didn't justify their own abilities in the cup final. I think they want to prove that in this game live on Sky, as you say, and you know, with a country watching. I think they want to go and prove themselves. So, you know, we'll go on to predictions for the game. You know, and we're all we're all low. We're all still low, in case you hadn't been able to tell. You know, Angus is coming out with the negative stuff. So it'll be interesting to hear some predictions. So we'll start with you, Angus, tonight.
3-0 Rangers, simple as that. I think that's possibly being kind as well. Yeah, hopes aren't high. Anything's a bonus.
I'm gonna be positive. I think the players will have the bit between their teeth to go and prove a point. I'm going to go for 1-1. As you said, Andy, I think Rangers have not as such taken their eye off the ball in the league recently, but I think, as you say, they're now kind of grinding out results to get over the line, and they don't like coming to us. So I think the players will put in a performance after Sunday, and I think we'll get a point.
Yeah, write us off at your peril. That's what I say. You know, I've done it multiple times myself. I've not fancied our chances. I just feel, like I said there, the players will know that they owe themselves a performance, and they'll go all out to try and get in Rangers' faces, cause them problems, and they notoriously don't like the pitch. So I'm going to be relatively positive as well, and I'm going to go with you, and I'm going to go 1-1 for this as well, you know, and it'll be a good way to bounce back. And I think, despite what I've said in previous episodes about us already being there, I think that'll pretty much confirm a top 6 spot. Finally this week, we're going to look at the weekend's game. It's a trip to face Motherwell at Fir Park. Motherwell, who are confirmed as finishing in bottom 6 this season, will be bitterly disappointed with how their season's gone, but will be out not only to prove a point, but also secure their top flight survival. It really has been that bad at Motherwell this season. But They've came onto form, a good result at the weekend against Hibs. This is looking a tougher game now than what it was a few weeks ago, isn't it?
Yeah, Motherwell are an extremely strange side. I mean, you look at the game prior to that game against Hibs where St Johnstone absolutely annihilated them. Even just like watching like the kind of highlights and seeing the stats, I don't think there's many games this season that have been one-sided. And to be honest, you wouldn't have expected that between Motherwell and St Johnstone. I know Motherwell were missing a whole bunch of players, but I think that'll be quite worrying for them regarding their squad that they kind of crumbled like that. But then again, they went to Easter Road at the weekend just there, and in a way, they kind of performed like we did that time that we beat Hibs at Easter Road quite recently. They were tenacious, they won their battles, they found great joy going through the middle and were clinical on the day. So Motherwell are a strange one to think of because you just don't really know what kind of side what Motherwell side's going to show up. They've shown plenty of times this season that they're incredibly weak, as you mentioned. They aren't a million miles away from the relegation zones. They probably will start to kind of drift away from that when the split comes, but they're in that kind of area for a reason. But they've also pulled up a good couple of results like that, like beating Hibs Easter Road. They beat Aberdeen 3-0 at Pittodrie earlier. And of course, they beat us 2-0 in what was a very, very poor outing for us. So it will be an interesting game. They're welcoming some players back. O'Donnell and Campbell were back from the start on Saturday. With Gallagher and Lawless were on the bench and made second half cameo appearances. So it'll be interesting. I think this is a game that Livingston should probably be looking more to perhaps freshen things up. This will be a game that Livingston will probably have much more of an output on rather than the Rangers one. So maybe like some things freshened up in that regard could be something that is introduced after Wednesday's game. But I think it's going to be a really close game in all honesty. Could be very similar to the one at the start of the season that was 2-2 out at Fir Park. I think on the day that we should probably go there not fearing an awful lot, but I guess our current form, we might be a wee bit more hesitant in approaching this game.
I mean, there's nothing to fear with Motherwell, in my opinion. I think the game earlier in the season, I still look at it as being one of our most positive away displays this season. Looked really good going forward that night, and the thing that caused them a heap of problems was the rotation in our front four. The movement off the ball, and I think that's where we can get at Motherwell, is trying to pull them about the place, get the back four out of shape and cause them problems like that. But I mean, they've been a bit unpredictable under Graham Alexander. They had a couple of decent results to start with. They drew with Rangers, and then they had those two catastrophic home performances at home to Hamilton in the derby and then St Johnstone, and looked absolutely all over the place in the two games. But then, as you say, they just went and produced a win at Easter Road. So I think that they're a dangerous opposition because they do seem a bit unpredictable, but it shows you that you can get at them. They've leaked 4 goals at home to Hamilton and 3 at home to St Johnstone, who are 2 of the lowest scoring teams in the league. So you can get at them and cause them problems and create chances. So I don't think there's anything to fear with that. I think the way they've been typically setting up under Alexander is a 4-3-3 with their shape. And as you say, they've got a couple of players back in, and the likes of O'Donnell, Decky's back fit as well. So I think it will be a tough game. They'll be looking to try and pull away from the bottom 2 as well. So they'll look at our recent run of results and fancy it as a good opportunity for 3 points. But I think there's nothing to fear going there, but we do have a pretty poor recent record at Fir Park.
I think the thing is with Motherwell, I think you have said it, unpredictable, but I think I looked at this earlier. They've played something like 17 games since December, and they've only won 4. So it's not like they've been on a really good run of form. They've lost 9 of those 17 games. They've been really poor, and when you look at their squad, they have a squad that has the ability to be in the top 6. There's no doubt. I look at the league this season, and there's not many standout teams. And for me, Motherwell, with the squad they've got, the likes of Liam Kelly, a Scotland international, O'Donnell, they've got Lawless, who was so good with us, Gallagher, again, a Scotland international, Tony Watt, these players are very good players, and they should be further up the league than they are. Let's be honest. And Motherwell fans will be bitterly disappointed with how their season's gone. I don't think there's any questions about that. But looking at the game, I just feel like we all know confidence is a massive thing in football, and ours will be slightly knocked by the last few performances, and I think it'll all come down to how we perform on Wednesday night. If we go out and perform really well, that confidence might just click again, and we go into the game against Motherwell knowing what we need from the game. So, I think we go there and we try and take the game to them. I think, like you said, Ewan, that they can be got at. I think. I've made my feelings known about Ricky Lamy. We'll not go into it. I think people who have listened to the podcast will know what that's all about. But I feel like he's more than able to be more than able to be got at by our attacking players, and they're there for the taking. And if we turn up on the day and perform as well as we can, like we had done only a matter of weeks ago, we were playing some incredible stuff. So if we can get back to that, then we should be going there and looking to pick up 3 points.
So how do you see us setting up for this game then? As I say, I kind of touched on the game earlier in the season at Motherwell where we caused them a lot of problems. What sort of personnel do you see featuring? I think that night we had, I think it was Robinson out on the right, Pittman as a 10, Forrest on the left, and it was Dykes. Obviously Dykes isn't here. So how do you maybe see us setting up for the game?
I want to see Forrest. I think Forrest deserves his chance now.
Angus Allen is not going to shag you.
Even if he doesn't, God loves a trier, right? But yeah, I think Alan Forrest has been very patient, and I think during these kind of the last couple of months, it's been very justified that he hasn't played because we've been winning and we've been winning games comfortably. So it's had to be patient in that regard. But right now, in terms of our attacking output, we're not up to an awful lot, and I think that Forrest is that kind of player. He's probably the one player in the team who I think can make something happen out of probably nothing, like create a chance for himself. So I would really like to see him start from the beginning. I think it would be exciting to see him, a front three of him, Robinson and Mullen on the right wing, and then you'd probably have Pittman behind them. I think there's plenty of energy within that team that could cause problems. Obviously, you talked about like the kind of movement and all of that. I think you could switch Forrest and Mullen and Robinson could all alternate. Forrest, as we know, is a player who likes to have like a go in that. You could even like have him drifting inside. Whoever ends up in each of the areas, I would be confident that they could cause teams problems. As we know, Motherwell aren't the greatest defensively. The last 2 games at home they've conceded 7 goals against Hamilton and St Johnstone. I don't think that we should be looking at that and being like we can't replicate something similar. In all honesty, I think we have. In terms of attacking quality, we have players who could easily replicate that. That would definitely lead to somebody dropping out, whether it be Bartley, Holt or Sybil. But I think that in a game like this, we should probably get back to playing. Obviously, like Sybil had kind of been doing a job on that left-hand side, but I think I would just prefer to have like an actual winger out there, especially if we're going to start taking games to teams. I think we need to be a wee bit more optimistic in our own abilities, and I think Alan Forrest is the right player to play in that. I think the rest of the team kind of picks itself. I guess that back 4, maybe Fitzwater comes back in, but yeah, I would like to see us replicate something similar to that game that you mentioned we got so much joy from earlier in the season.
I think the long lost lad that we all raved about earlier on in the season, Scott Tiffany, I feel has been unjustly left out of the team for the last few weeks, and I think he was incredibly important at the start of the season to giving us that out ball, and I think he'd done a lot for us. And I think during this difficult run that we're on, I think we need to freshen things up, and maybe having someone that's been on the outskirts of the squad coming into the team might just do that. I'm just throwing that one out there. I thought he caused Motherwell a few problems earlier in the season, and I think he could potentially do the same. I don't think with Robbo, I think it's been notoriously said that he'll struggle to play 3 games in a short period of time, and we with the cup final being one of them and everything that surrounded it, it's difficult to then go and play another 2 full 90 minutes or another two games in a short period of time. So I can see there definitely being a change up front. And, looking at the options, that, as you know, I'm not convinced by Jet. I don't know about Poblatnik. Tiffany's the one that's jumping out, and I know he's not been involved, but like I say, maybe that's what we need, some freshen up. McMillan's another one. I'd be intrigued to see him coming in and getting a chance. I don't think he's been given enough of a chance. We speak about that all the time. But, something obviously needs to change. I think confidence has dropped slightly after a run of form, and we just need to tweak some players in, bring players in that are, desperate to get involved and desperate to show what they can do. And I think these players can potentially do that for us.
Right, we'll move on to predictions then. Angus, we'll start with you. Has Andy rubbed off on you for this one as well, and you're predicting another 3-0 defeat?
Tempting, but I think I will differ. This is a tough one because of how Motherwell are, you just don't really know what kind of one's going to show up. So there's been enough negativity from me today, so I'm going to come out brighter and I'll go for Livingston to win 2-1. I'll see it being a kind of maybe like a similar game to St Johnstone and Kilmarnock away earlier in the seasons, and we'll end up snatching it. Another win on a grass park would be tremendous.
Andy, what about yourself?
I mean, I want to pick up on something here. You're having a go at me for being negative, but I feel like I've been the positive one today. I just want to throw that out there.
I think you'll find that I've called Angus being negative for this episode as well. So both of you.
But you're saying I'm rubbing off on Angus today. I feel like I've been pretty positive.
It's a bit like another 2 months. So.
One episode out of the 30 odd we've done this season. It's good to hear you have a bit of positivity.
Someone's got to be. But yeah, on the prediction for this game, I predicted a draw on Wednesday. I'm going to predict another draw here. I'm going to go 2-2.
And I'm a bit like you, Angus. It's a difficult one to predict. You don't know what Motherwell team is going to turn up, but I think we're going to get back to scoring a few goals. I'm going to go a 2-1 Livy win. So here's hoping that we can get back to winning ways, and as Angus said, another win on a grass park would be delightful.
That's it for this week's episode of Talk Livy. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in week in and week out. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Angus said, we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search Talk Livy to find us, and you'll find all the links to our weekly episodes on there as well. You can also find all our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel. None of those options suit you though. All you have to do is head to our website, talklivypodcast.libsyn.com, where you'll find every single episode we've done over the last few years.
So that's it this week. Thanks again for tuning in. Probably the toughest one we've had to record, but as ever, we hope you've enjoyed the podcast. Just a quick shout out to everybody who sent in videos for our cup preview video. I think that went down exceptionally well for everybody that's joined us in the build up to the cup final. Roddy McKenzie, Scott McLaughlin, Burton O'Brien, Ross Gardner, St Johnstone fan. I'm sure he's having a great time just now. But it's been a great week building up to the cup, and obviously we can't thank you all enough for tuning in and listening to our episodes, and all the guys for joining us. But for now, from us here at Talk Livy, let's hope we can bounce back in style, starting on Wednesday as we take on Rangers.
Livingston, a love will never die. West Lothian is our battle cry. This is the place from which we hail. Livingston, oh Livingston, it's up to Ambervale. Livingston, 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 oh Livingston, the Arminville Lions grow. Livingston, oh Livingston, we realise our vision. Livingston, oh Livingston, into the